Sunset didn't know about anyone else, as he felt distinctly awkward with the direction things were going. She and her friends were seated at the dinner table, which had to be added in order to accommodate all 9 individuals seated. Uncle Apple Strudel, declaring the more the merrier, sat at the head of the table, dishing out fish soup to everyone. Ignoring Rainbow Dash sniffing the Costa suspiciously, he turned to give Adagio her portion. I didn't know that your address was great niece, Bandit, he said crickily to her. She had a lot of interest by the look of it. He chuckled with a sound of an old vacuum cleaner. Darcy smiled slightly. Sure seems that way, she said between gritted teeth. We're really sorry to bother you on such short notice, Elzek said. We really are, Flash said. I know I'd just be so frustrated if it were me. Fluttershy, you let animals into your house every hour of the day and night, Rainbow pointing out. Well, yes, but who can say no to animals? You invited a bear into your parents' kitchen, Rainbow Dash reminded her. Fluttershy blushed. Mom and Dad were very understanding about that, she mumbled, pulling at her fingers. We're really grateful for you putting us up, Applejack continued. You'll not play until tomorrow when we can catch the bulls back. Nonsense. Applejack puffed his thick beard and curved mustache. You should stay to the week. Don't you know winter holidays start on Monday? Well, yes, but their parents expect them back soon. Antonio interrupted, eyeing them all balefully. Applejack could see at that point, and informed them of where they'd be staying. His house was a large affair, formerly an inn remade over the years into a farmhouse to accommodate the cotton trade, was itself had given way into more recent generations to the rise of the Apple family in the area. Consequently, the place had many more guest bedrooms, usually used by visiting family members or farmhands working the seasons. There was just enough room for 2 per room. Rainbow and Fluttershy agreed to pair one room, Rarity and Applejack reluctantly agreed to share another, whilst Pinky agreed widely at Dacio to share a third. Dacia didn't complain exactly, but certainly couldn't have said to be in happy arrangements. It makes sense since we're already roommates, Sonata said cheerfully, checking out the bounciness of her bed. They don't have to be so aggravating about it, though, Sunset grumbled. Pinky and Applejack's faces could not have been any smugger at all their parting. What's wrong? Sonata asked. Oh, nothing. Just Pinky and AJ being well. Sunset didn't finish her thought. I like Pinky, Sonata giggled as he pulled on a pair of pajamas. They were perhaps a size or too small for her, in the faded purple little black crochet patterns. The shirt was too short to cover her stomach, and the trousers were more like 3/4 length. Tell me more about her belly? Ow! Sitting on her bed with her sketch pad in hand, she looked at his home with Sunset, almost asked her to turn the TV on. I feel bad leaving battle with Pinkie Pie, though. She could be a little bit hyper. Silly Sammy, Pinky Sonata snickered. Hyper is Pinky, and Pinky is Hyper. One cannot be separated from the other. It's too late in the day for movie quotes, Sunset grinned. It's never too late for my antics. Antics are what make the day worthwhile. True, Sunset sat on her bed, pulling her slightly too large striped pajamas. She did seem annoyed, though, Sunset added, returning to the subject. I don't care, Sonata said, her voice not well adjusted to being cold and distasteful, so it came across as petulant. But warning bells were off in Sunset's mind. She wants to be left alone, and we'll just go tomorrow, and that's right. Right, Sunset answered uneasily. She didn't dare press the subject further. Sunset didn't sleep easily. She'd never been able to sleep in unfamiliar places. After rolling around in her bed for a while, listening to Sonata's loud snoring, she got out to see if she could use the wire or something downstairs. It was frightfully cold. Apparently, the builders of the house didn't seem to understand the principle of insulation, or she Sunset to put her coat and shoes on. Upon entering the kitchen, she heard a strange sound. Looking quietly for the source of it, she came to the window and understood what was coming from outside. She could have gone out in the cold for most of anything. It was really cold. But to her bewilderment, the sound was almost definitely somebody singing. She went to the kitchen clock. 1 o'clock, Sunset frowned. Who could be? As cold as the outside was, the wind mercifully died away to nothing during the night. It was meant that the trees were utterly silent. The voice rang out distinctly on the air. Sunset felt herself drawn to it. It was a beautiful singing, a sad-sounding song, almost faintly familiar. But strangely, she also knew that she never heard anything like it before. Walking briskly down a path between the trees, she came to see a small hill under the moon, where a figure was standing outstretched, immediately to slightly enticing music. Even from this distance, her appearance so radically altered, Sunset somehow knew distinctly that it was Adagio. Indeed, as he walked up behind her, standing a respectful 2 feet away from her, and let her finish her song, Adagio herself didn't seem too surprised by Sunset's appearance either. A bit of a snoop, aren't you? She said after a short pause. That was beautiful. I guess. Adagio looked around at her and sighed. How did you know I was out here? I heard you from the house, Sunset jerked her thumb back. You don't have to worry, Adagio said, looking back up at the moon. I can't get my magic back, so there's no danger. Sunset didn't respond at first, but then a question occurred to her. I thought your singing voices were all tied up in your pendants, she said, coming to stand next to her. Sonata couldn't sing at all when I found her again. Dazio smiled fondly. No, well, I'm honest, said Shimmer. It's taken a while for me to actually have a singing voice at all. We didn't actually sing back then, you know. The sound was just a consequence of those spells we were casting. Sunset asked, puzzled. Dazio regarded her for a moment. You're according to Equestria, right? Sunset nodded. Well, imagine you cast a spell there. Magic words and everything. By reciting the spell, you channeled your magic to your horn and created the desired consequence, usually with some kind of physical side effect. Okay, Sunset said, following so far. It was the same with our magic. Singing was our magic words. It channeled our magic, and the beauty of our voices was a side effect of the spell's hypnotic power, like the flash from teleportation. Naturally, it wasn't what our voices sounded like. But your voice now, Sunset said slowly, it's, well, beautiful. You know what they say, 1% talent, 99% hard work. Adagio shrugged. I just like to sing. I enjoyed it even then. Even now when I can't use my magic, I still think the songs are beautiful. I suppose, Sunset conceded, thinking of one of the ones she heard during the Battle of Fan's Affair. You know more songs than just the mind-slaving ones. Adagio chuckled, apparently reading Sunset's mind, and the laughter was a little of her old sneering arrogance. It was just a great deal less cold than it once was. Starsword once told us, even if I couldn't use the spells themselves, to make wonderful poetry. She stared up at the moon, lost in thought. Didn't he banish you? Sunset asked, before she could stop herself. Curiosity really could get the better of her sometime. Yeah, but in earlier years, as a young unicorn in training, before Equestria was founded, well, the world was a wider place back then. Easier to create havoc, too, she added, reminiscently. As before, Sunset was startled by how much Adagio had changed. She seemed older, more world-weary, but also, there's no other way to say it, nice. She seemed nice. It was a little frightening to think of the old Adagio, and how easy it could be to get like the Adagio she had become. Hey, Adagio? I mean, Ballad? Hmm? Could I ask about, well, I understand if you don't, but actually I wanted to talk to you privately about it anyway. Adagio said, cutting across her babble. About what? Sunset asked, confused. Sonata. Adagio clarified. How much did she tell you about what happened after that night? After? You mean, oh, yeah. Adagio was silent throughout the entire explanation. When after Sunset had finished, she snapped and rubbed her eyes a little, even though clinging sleep from them. Trust her to be completely oblivious, she whispered, smiling fondly. To Sunset's eye, it was a motherly sort of look. I don't want to be rude, but she hesitated and plunged on. Are you three sisters? In a way, Adagio said. We're not blood relatives, if that's what you mean. But we grew up together, loved each other, played together, grew into what we were together. She finished sadly. Well, in fairness to them, they followed me into it all. I sometimes wonder what Sonata might have done if she hadn't followed me. If I had a nickel for every time I've read a story or been through a series where they decided to take canonical siblings and decided to fuck them up into just being, you know, siblings by not by blood but by coat of arms, I have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that's happened 3 times, right? And for those of you who are curious, next mutation, For the ones we love, and this. What's the deal here, people? What do you mean about being oblivious? You found her homeless, you said? Sunset 9. It shouldn't have been that way. Without us, Arya and mine, I'm positive Sonata would have survived on her own. What do you mean? When you beat us, something happened to Arya and me. I gotta explain it then. It was. CC to search for words. I realized it was pointless. In that moment when we ran out the stage, or even when that blast hit us, I knew somehow, even if we had won, we had taken that girl or the world, would have ended up all the same. How so? Sunset asked intrigued. Do you think it would have ended there? Not you or your friends, then someone else. We tried to control people, and that can't last forever. Not on me that I just wasted their lives. Theirs and mine. Sure, at first I thought only about myself, about how I had lost, about how I would be affected. But over those 2 weeks, I saw what I had done, what I failed to do. Tasia took a deep breath, as though she was saying something a little painful. She wanted to say it all before she lost her nerve. She was the least afraid. Sonata, I mean. I was afraid to try, and Arya was afraid to change. Sonata tried to get a job, encouraged me to do the same. Arya bullied her out of it, and I couldn't bring myself to act on Sonata's advice. Arya was so afraid of the consequences of our magic being gone, she wouldn't listen to Sonata. Took all her frustrations out on her. She let Sunset full of them face before looking into her eyes a tortured look. I did nothing to stop any of it. I couldn't bring myself to act until it was far too late. Sonata begged on the street while Arya was out trying and failing to do the same thing. I honestly believe we would have started without Sonata. Long after it had gone too far, I confronted Arya about her behavior, tried to pull her in line. It was too late, as I said. Sonata was too afraid to speak, and Arya was too angry and scared to listen to me. But why did you leave? Sunset asked, throat dry. Dacio took a little time to answer that question. Whether I was right or not, I believed it to be the best. Arya was gone. The only thing holding Sonata back was me. Sunset could think of nothing to say. It was such a startling conclusion, and had such profound consequences. She saw Sonata now, lying in a strange bed in her 2 small pajamas, peaceful and undisturbed. Then there came an image of her on the roof, her magenta eyes full of despair. Broken body, lonely tombstone. She shivered at what could have been. In that moment, it would have been easy for Sunset to be angry with Adagio, resented for her choices, to hate her for what she and Arya had driven Sonata to almost do. But she couldn't. She knew in some part of herself that Adagio genuinely believed that she had acted for the best. She could not have foreseen the consequences she had. And although did that not make her any less responsible, she knew that hating her would not make anything better. She just wants to talk to you, she said earnestly. Dacio was silent for a moment, and they began to walk back, gesturing for Sunset to follow her. She wants to know you still. I like that too. These weeks away from the two of them, I realized how much I missed them, but what? I can't. Sunset waited for an explanation, but none came. So that's it? She asked, feeling angry for the first time. You just can't? What kind of excuse is that? It's better for her. Who are you to decide that? I'm the one that failed her! Dacia bellowed, spinning around. Sunset took an involuntary step back, recoiling slightly, the furious tears in Dacio's eyes. That's who I am. You think you know what's best for her? I've led her for years down a spiraling path for nothing. And then when she needed me the most, when both of them needed me to be stuck, lead them somewhere, I couldn't. Fury ebbed and wrath came to an end, visiting her inside sore sorrow. Dacio, I didn't mean to. Don't get me wrong, Sunset Simmer. I do want to see her again, in Arya if I can find her, but I can't face her, either of them. Not yet. She hesitated a moment and went on. In a way, I should thank you and your friends. If it weren't for you, I never would have figured any of this out. When I face Sonata again, I want to be as fortunate as she is. A few friends, maybe somewhere to live, a boyfriend. Sonata has a boyfriend? Sunset asked, startled, as he blinked. Not that I know of. But I thought you two were. Sunset went bright red and cold, seeing her face. Why do people keep thinking that? Well, you see, Sunset, bloop, I looked at the tags in this fic, and it says romance. So yes, and no one in particular, shuffling around her clothes. She was so distracted she didn't notice Adacio's penetrating look. Sorry, she said, cutting across Sunset's discomfort. I suppose I shouldn't have assumed. Anyway, I really appreciate if you could convince Sonata to stop asking after me. Let her live her life until I get mine sorted out. She doesn't deserve to carry my burden anymore. Sunset declined to go back to the house with her, so watched Adagio walk away between the apple groves. Sunset was conflicted to say the least, stood on the hill with her thoughts heavy in her head. Her ideas on the matter eventually gave way to understanding. Perhaps not an acceptance, for she still did not agree with Adagio's decisions. Then she resented the damage she had done earlier, intensely or unintentionally, to Sonata. But she could still understand why. And at least for the moment, Adagio was spurred on by remorse. Sunset Simmer, perhaps of all people, could understand where she was coming from. She felt unworthy. She felt she had to make amends. The only thing that Sunset disagreed with was how she intended to do it. Now she knew how Sonata felt right now. But it was her place to tell Adagio about how to go about her own path of redemption. She had not the least idea. Her thoughts were interrupted by a distinct rustling from behind her. One of the groves of trees behind was lined intermittently by strings of hedges, boundaries between differing fields, and perhaps the apple trees old age had grown a little too large or overbearing. One of these hedges was rustling and shaking, rather as though a large creature was energetically trying to rip its way through. Sunset felt a distinctive need to turn and run, found herself simply staring in trepidation. When the urge to flee finally kicked in properly, the fearsome beast had already torn its way through the darkness. "Oh!" said a familiar voice. Hello." Sunset blinked and stared, and blinked again hard. Trenderhoof? It was him. Blonde hair liberally strewed between twigs and winter leaves, his coat disheveled. He passed himself down, straightened his glasses. Good evening." "It's 2 o'clock in the morning," Sunset said suspiciously. "Overcoming your sock." "Yes," Trenderhoof said confidently, in pregnant pause. "Yes, it is." "What are you doing here?" "Just out for a stroll," he said with feeble suddenness of awareness. Sunset narrowed her eyes. "At 2 in the morning." "Yes." "In Apple Strudels Fields." "Yes," he said less certainly. Sunset glared at him and seemed to know he was rumbled. It really had been that difficult. He sighed. "Okay. Were you the one thinking it a while ago?" Sunset's eyebrows shot up. "No," she said honestly. He exhaled. "Okay, thanks anyway." He turned to leave. "No, hang on. Were you looking for someone singing?" "Yes, it's actually why I'm staying in Whitetail. I like the outdoors, so I came out for my holidays. The first night I arrived, I heard this beautiful singing out in the fields." He smiled reminiscently, apparently seeing Sunset could not. She looked shrewdly at him. "Why are you interested in who the singer is?" she asked. "Oh, well," he said, coming over somewhat bashful. "I've gone to talent scouting recently, and I just thought that maybe whoever it was might like to. Sunset wasn't quite satisfied with the answer. His responses and the way he was acting didn't seem to be adding up. He was embarrassed about something. "So you never met the person singing?" "No," he said. "Well, not exactly. I saw them once out in the woods. I followed the music and found someone singing on the center of a pond. They were illuminated by moonlight and..." Sunset pursed her lips as he began a long and adoring commentary of the performance. "But as I made my way down to the pond, they stopped singing and were gone before I found out who it was." He finished eventually. "Jeez, you talked a lot." "So you've been going around looking for whoever it was you heard singing?" Sunset guessed. "Yes," he said, throwing an arm to his forehead. "I despair of finding them. It is almost like some kind of phantom testing with beautiful music, only to stay away with my hopes and dreams." "Well, she's not a phantom," Sunset muttered too quietly for him to hear. Sunset might, under other circumstances, might be put off by the theatricality of his mannerisms. It could be clear the more his bashfulness ebbed away, the more exuberant he became. An idea was coming to Sunset Simmer. A familiar feeling of unease crept into her mind, but elicited something different at heart. If her time with Sonata taught her anything, it was the sort of ideas that were things she should explore. Tenerife was sighing. He folded his arms. Sunset fixed him with a twinkling eye. "What if I told you I could take you to the singer?" she asked. His reaction was immediate and satisfactory. He turned to her as though she was the most beautiful object he ever beheld. She was fuzzy in the moonlight. "You could?"
You know who it is.
Yes, but we have to talk first.